Hey y'all, Traveler Ruler back with another video. If you are new here, welcome to my channel. If you are not new here, my A1 Day One's like, what's good with y'all? So I am headed to work. I just came back from checking in the probation. Of course, as you know, I have to do that once a month. Probation to check in, it was okay, you know, still putting the urine on the ground, but we're past that. I'm used to it now. I did let her know that there's a possibility I could be moving. So she's like, you know, what's out of town? And I had also talked to her about getting my curfew lifted because I do have 10 years on probation. I did 10 years in prison and I have 10 years of probation that I'm doing now. And I just reached my 3-year mark and I had asked her about it. And she was like, oh, you got to go back to the court that sentenced you and all of that. So I was like, all right. So I posted a video about it and I told you I was going to look into it. So I reached out to some lawyers in Highlands County because she told me I had to deal with it in the court that sentenced me, which makes sense. Okay, that motorcycle. You know what? People who be on motorcycles be so reckless, and I hate that for them. Like, why are you just switching lanes like that? They just be switching lanes like they have no regards for their lives. Like, I do not like being on the road with motorcyclists. But back to what I was saying. So she told me I had to go through the court that sentenced me, which makes sense. I mean, they the ones that gave it to me. They the ones that set stipulations. So I reached out to some lawyers in Highlands County where I was sentenced out of because that's where I'm from. I live in Jacksonville now. And they were like, oh, we recommend you waiting until you get halfway through your probation, which is in another 2 years. So I'm like, I'm not trying to get it early terminated because I know you're supposed to wait like halfway through your probation to get it early terminated. And if you've been following my channel, you know exactly why I cannot get my probation early terminated in 2 years. Because I have restitution and court fines that add up to $108,000. Okay, it's going to be hard for me to pay that off on time, let alone early. All right? God is good, though. You know, God can do anything. You know, Lord, somebody just hit for that Powerball, 1.8 billion, you know, put it on their heart, let them see this video. You know, like, just pay your girl probation off. And the fact that I know there is a billionaire somewhere that can pay off my probation and change my life and it not even affect them, like, that makes me really sad. Like, that is so much money. And I've seen people say billionaires shouldn't have, like, we shouldn't have billionaires. There shouldn't be one person with that much money. But I'm not finna pocket watch. But I did the math, right? So 1 million seconds, so that we can put in perspective how much bigger $1 billion is than $1 million. 1 million seconds is 12 days. 1 million seconds adds up to 12 days. 1 billion seconds is 31 years. Okay? 1 billion seconds adds up to 31 years. So I am 31. That means $1 for every single day I have been alive is $1 billion. I've been alive for 1 billion days, like 1 billion seconds. So $1 for every second I've been alive. Insane. So the fact that there's a billionaire somewhere that could like literally change my life and then not affect them, no way, shape, or form. Like, that's probably their grocery bill. Like, just help your girl out. You don't even have to give it to me. Just go give it to the Department of Corrections in Florida. But anyways, so I was reaching out to those lawyers and they was like, oh, we recommend you waiting halfway. Like, of course you do. Like, I'm not trying to get it early terminated because I can't. I'm trying to just get my probation lifted so that I can have a little bit more wiggle room. Like, I can have more freedom. Like, just slightly, you know, I don't want to be twerking on the headlights at 2 o'clock in the morning, but I want to be able to, like, I went to meet this girl that I met off of TikTok, and she has a reality show, so she invited me to the premiere. So that was our first time hanging out, and it was very nice. And I'll put some pictures up here of the outfit that I wore. But it was very nice, but I was like literally watching the clock the whole time, and I didn't even tell her, like, because I had to leave. The event was not over, so I had to leave. I left at like 9:30. I live like 15 minutes away from the place, so I like to give myself some wiggle room. So I left at like 9:30, and I had to just up and leave. And I was like, hey, you know, girl, I was like, I'm heading out. And I know she probably felt like I was like not interested or stuck up or something, but it's literally because I had to be home in less than 30 minutes. Like, I got to go. So just to be able to have some more freedom where I can enjoy an event and not have to watch the clock, because anytime I go somewhere at night, I have to watch the clock the whole time. Like, I cannot just ignore it and, or I have to set an alarm. But even if I set an alarm, I'm going to watch it. But they told me I had to wait and go halfway through. So I was like, I'm not listening to them. So then I called the clerk of courts in Highlands County, and I was trying to see if I can get a court date. Because if I can get a court date and I get a lawyer, like, you're going to have to do what you do. Like, I don't want your recommendation. I want you to go in here and do what you got to do. You get what I'm saying? So I was like, let me get a court date, and then I'm going to get a lawyer and be like, hey, can you represent me? This is my court date. So I called Highlands County, and they're like, oh, we have no record of you. So what that mean? Ain't no probation no more? Like, what you mean you don't got no record of me? I got record that y'all got record of me. So it was like, oh no, and I told them what I was trying to do, and they was like, oh, you have to go through Duval clerk of courts and go through their court system. And I'm like, so why people keep telling me I got to call y'all? And they was like, well, maybe you can call the probation office number and blah blah blah, and they'll be able to help you. So I was like, okay, let me get that number. So I called the probation office in Highlands County, and they're like, you know, basically like, girl, who is you? And I'm like, they told me I had to call you. And it was like, oh no, you have to deal with that in Jacksonville. So I was like, all right. So then I called Jacksonville clerk of courts, Duval. And then people told me they couldn't help me, that I had to call Highlands County. So I was like, you know what? And I was talking to my man, and he was like, just ask your probation officer. Like, she should be able to tell you exactly how to go about it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try that again, even though she told me Highlands County. So I was like, I'm going to try that again. So I go in there, and I don't like to be aggravating. Like, if I got a question for my probation officer, if it's not life or death, which has never been life or death, I'm going to just wait till I check in. Like, I ain't trying to aggravate nobody calling them in the middle of the day like, hey, girl, quick question. No, we not friends. I understand the roles. So I waited till I checked in. So I went in there, and I was like, as a matter of fact, she brought it up before I did. So she was like, hey, she was like, you know, did you find out about the curfew thing? And I was like, oh, yes. And I was like, I'm glad you brought it up. And I was like, they gave me the runrounds. And I was like, I was wondering if you could point me in the direction. Now, mind you, I told y'all in my video about how my probation officer made me feel. I still have the same one. And she's very new. Okay? And no shade to her. She's a nice lady. But she's new. Some of the stuff she be telling me, like, I be wanting to tell her, you need to go read your booklet. But once again, we not finna be beefing with our probation officer. Not doing it. So she was like, oh, you got to go through Highlands County and all of that. And I was like, okay. And she was like, you have to call the public defender office in Highlands County. And I'm like, what the public defender office gonna do for me? Like, so if anybody is in Highlands County, or if they are in Jacksonville, or if you are in the state of Florida and you got sentenced in one county and you transfer all your information to another one, please tell me. Please help me, because can't nobody seem to help me. Like, I just want to get rid of my curfew. But I'm about to head in here to work. I appreciate y'all for tuning in, and I will talk to y'all later.